Let's welcome in our morning guest as well. T.S. Hariyar will join us soon. We have S.V. Prasad with us. Ruchit Jain is also now joining us this morning. Vishal Malkan will also join us in just a bit. S.V., let's start with you. What are your picks?
Well, my picks don't change. Good morning first to you and to all viewers. My picks don't change, Pankaj, week on week. You know, I stick to the same quote-unquote boring stocks. You know, I like HDFC. You know, I continue to like SBI. The new lot, which I think which is going to be good for the current year, is going to be the pharma stock, pharma companies, because I think the pharma days are, the bad days I think are past them. Once they hopefully clear the FDA issue, FDA problems, and I think they will, because pharma is not in the crosshair so far, at least, of the president-elect of US, unlike the IT. IT, I've been telling from a long time consistently, look, IT is going to be seeing tough days, and I think I've been vindicated to a large extent, and it's going to continue because there is going to be emphasis more on deglobalization, and we don't know how that will roll out, because you have Trump on one side, you have Brexit on the other. I hope it's not followed by Frexit and whatever other alphabetic soups you can think of. So given that background, pharma is actually a slightly different thing, because with the population getting older both in US and Europe, and given the major cost advantage that these guys have, I think pharma, if they get their act together, is a superb growth story for years to come as far as Indian pharma. Yes, they have to get their act together. They have to follow proper processes. So that's what I feel. Commodities again is a sector that one needs to look at. I think the last quarter, December-ended quarter, I think some of the commodities are going to be the saviors as far as Nifty is concerned, because IT is going to be hit, auto is going to be hit. So commodities, I expect, are going to come with much better numbers, and some of these factors I mentioned earlier will certainly help commodities. Oil prices have already stiffened quite a bit. So I expect commodities is something that one needs to selectively look at.
Ruchit, what are your topics? Ruchit, your topics?
Yeah, hi, good morning. Well, my first pick is from oil and gas sector. If you observe, then this entire sector as a whole has been a good outperformer. In this last corrective action in the market, this sector still has been moving higher by formation of higher tops and higher bottom. If you observe BSE oil and gas sector, it's trading around its all-time high, which is quite a positive sign. So GAIL is one of the stock which we think going ahead could be a good outperformer. The stock has recently given a breakout from a triangular pattern, and the recent correction also was a time-wise correction rather than a price correction over here. So we are expecting on the higher side the stock could go up to 470. One should go long around current levels itself, keeping a stop loss below 427. Second pick is from a mid-cap stock, one is Britannia. If you observe a bit longer term charts, then this stock was in an uptrend but has recently corrected significantly since last, I think, 2.5 months. The correction was almost 20 to 22%. But if you observe a previous uptrend which started from the month of April, there was exactly around the support level where the stock is trading right now. So there is quite probability that the downside would be very limited in this stock. Some good demand area is there at current level, so I think the stock should head higher. From a very short term perspective, we are expecting the stock to go higher up to 3030. So one should go long in Britannia around current levels with stop loss below 2820 for target of 3030. And the last page is from a banking sector. As far as the index is concerned, we are expecting some outperformance to come in the bank Nifty sector now, which has not shown any up move in last couple of weeks. Kotak Bank is one of the stock which is trading around its long-term support. If you observe the weekly charts, then 89 EM is a good support for the weekly charts, and around that support, the stock has formed a bullish hammer pattern on the weekly charts. So it's a positive sign on and all in Kotak Bank. So one can go long around current levels, keeping stop loss below 692. From a very short-term perspective, we are expecting a target around 750.
All right, so that's the view coming in from Ruchit. 3 picks coming from him. We also have Vishal Malkan with us. Vishal, what are your top picks?
Hi, good morning. I would like to go with 2 buy calls, and the first one would be JSW Energy, which gave a good move on Friday, and it has broken above an important resistance of 63 on closing basis with good volumes. Even the weekly candle pattern has become bullish with good volumes. So I would go with a buy on JSW Energy with a stop of 64 for targets of 70-71 in the next few trading sessions. And the second one would be from the banking sector, and I think banking sector should perform in the next couple of weeks looking at the charts. And Oriental Bank one stock which has good pattern on daily as well as weekly with good volumes. And I would go with a buy on that with a stop of 107 for targets of 120, 122 in the next few trading sessions.
Right, some data also that the market would react to. So the FY17 first estimates in terms of growth by CSO were released on Friday at 5:30, that is post market hours. So what the government is saying is that, or CSO is saying is that 7.1 is the likely FY17 growth. The poll was at about 6.8, so it's about 30 basis points higher than that. The FY16 number was 7.6, so there is a degrowth of around 50 basis points. This is the sectoral estimates. Agriculture expected at 4.1% growth, industry expected at 5.2, and services, which has been leading the growth, will continue to be the case. However, one would take these numbers with a pinch of salt. Why? Because the projections do not reflect the full impact of demonetization. Why? Because in the basis of these projections have been made on the data which is available in October and November 2016. Still the data of deposits, a lot of December key data is expected. We are getting the December results soon, so even that is something which this data has not yet factored in. Second, advance estimates will be released somewhere in Feb 2007, closer towards the end of Feb. That should essentially capture the impact of demonetization. The street is already expecting that there could be a marginal revision on the downside from this 7.1 number. However, it's an important number to focus on. Some stocks in the pharma pack that will be in focus, and let's start with the big one. So Aurobindo, which in the pre-open is already indicating a 3 to 4%.
Right. Also, oil marketing companies will be in focus, HPCL, BPCL and IOC. Now, petrol pumps have deferred the decision not to accept card payments till January 13. Just a day earlier, they had said that they would not take credit cards or debit cards of particular banks for payments at their petrol pumps, but now this decision has been deferred. 4 banks have said that they would levy a charge on card usage. This after the 50-day deadline for depositing of old notes expired. Now, dealers are saying that banks charge around 30 to 40% of gross dealer margins, and oil marketing companies and petrol pumps were upset that this charge had been levied, which is why they have threatened this protest, but now the protest has been delayed till January 13. But the government is saying that the oil marketing companies and the banks must come together to find a solution to this, though the government has given assurance that customers will not have to face additional levy.
Retail outlet owners should not take any hit. Consumers should not at all take any hit of any kind of surcharge, any kind of MDR. That's government is very clear. Government has suggested to negotiate between oil marketing company and bankers, because this is a business proposition. Both of already oil marketing company are giving 0.75 subsidy incentive to all the consumers. But this is a technical issue business issue between bankers and oil marketing company. Merchant is oil marketing company, bankers are talking to them, and I'm expecting something will come out within few days.
All right. Mr. Prasad, how would you trade oil marketing companies now? Is there any worry that they will have to bear the additional cost of this surcharge? In any case, crude oil price worries have also caused a lot of volatility in prices of some of these oil marketing companies.
See, in the medium to long run, the oil marketing companies are a much stronger footing, because the government is clearly determined to phase out, all the subsidies that are there. Even LPG, there is a creeping increase in prices. I think the last price increase was 2 rupees. And coming to this credit card business, I think it's more a temporary aberration. I don't see that to kind of pan out for long, because we just heard though one couldn't hear him completely, but we just heard the petroleum minister. So this government is, I would imagine, would be very, very determined to work this out. And as far as that merchant charges are concerned, once the volumes build up, and volumes will build up given the whole digitization that's happening, I expect that the volumes would more than make up for the reduction in margins among the bank issuing bank, the bank that is honoring the card, and the petrol outlet. So among them, they'll have to decide what will be the charge. So I see that as a temporary aberration. So I've always liked this sector, because these are some of the, I would call it as a good defensive sectors, because clearly with consumerization happening, more automobiles being sold, so many of the big auto companies wanting to come into India, the consumption of petrol and once the economy settles down, consumption of even diesel, etc. For the trucks, I therefore feel that this is a good defensive sector. I mean, you don't expect huge spikes in this sector, but as a good defensive sector and quality management, all the three main companies, IOC, BPCL, HPCL, quality management. So, it's a small part of one's portfolio is what I would suggest.
Right. SP, did you see the acquisition of Aurobindo Pharma? Do you think it's EPS accretive, considering that their margins in Europe are 12% and the business that they have acquired is 20%? So markets will take it on the positive side?
No, definitely. I mean, I think one of the, Credit Suisse or somebody also has, I just saw on your on the screen that they have also recommended. I think it's a pretty smart acquisition. It appears, one will have to obviously go into a little bit of detail. It appears that they are not overpaid for the acquisition, which is a good thing, because given the muted economic scenario in Europe in general, they have not overpaid. So I think it's a very smart move as far as Aurobindo is concerned, no doubt about that.
Right, and in among the large cap players, this would still be one of the attractively valued companies?
No, definitely. I mean, I said right in the beginning that pharma is a sector I like. I think Sun Pharma also at some stage will come into favor. I mean, they've obviously carrying a lot of the legacy issues of Ranbaxy and some issues in their own older plants as well. I expect those issues to get sorted out because the management is strong. I think the main concern of the street is Mr. Shangvi's attention going on some of the diversification he has done. I think if he comes out and clarifies that, which is unrelated diversification, I think the street is more concerned with how much of management time he will continue to devote to this, or will his attention get distracted.
So pharma and oil marketing companies are the two sectors that will be in focus, definitely led by news flow, and some of the companies from IT Pack which declare numbers this week would also be in focus. Just awaiting the first prices, there you go in terms of first trades. Nifty is up around 15 points. Aurobindo Pharma, we just spoke about it, is up around 3.5%. Bank of Baroda is up about 0.5%, and Tata Steel is up close to 3 rupees. ONGC 203 rupees. Hindalco is up at 161. Yes Bank is up about 0.5%, 1252. Idea is up around at 73 rupees. Tech Mahindra 3 rupees lower. Tata Motors close to 500 sorry now. Kotak Mahindra Bank is on the positive side. Aurobindo Pharma is now the top gainer. 1.77 lakh shares already traded, 3% higher. 21 rupees on the higher side for Aurobindo Pharma. That's the top gainer on the Nifty pack. Eicher Motors, volumes are not that great, but it's among the top gainers as well. So Eicher Motors is up around 0.8%. Idea is doing well, and Idea, remember that once you had that extended offer from Bharti, both Bharti and Idea have done decently well. ONGC also is up around 0.7%. Remember, ONGC is just about 1 to 2% away from its high. So we'll just wait and watch as to what happens at ONGC. 203, 204. It's a 52-week high, not an all-time high. It's been a big underperformer since 2008. So that is something which one should note. Dr. Reddy's is now the top loser. So it's down about 0.8%. 2,000 shares traded for Dr. Reddy's. Not much in terms of volumes. ICICI Bank is the next top loser. There are some sort of volumes, and now Bharti Airtel is also among the top losers, so it's down about 0.8% now. We saw Idea earlier was among the top gainers. Bharti is among the top losers, so it's slightly confusing as to where telecom majors are going. HCL Tech Mahindra, ICICI Bank are some of the other namers. Let's look at some of the other names. So Bafna Pharma is yet to open, just 25 shares, so let's just avoid this name. Unichem Lab would have opened on the higher side. They've got an approval, 1.4%, 1.8% higher, but just about 4,000 shares. Fortis, there was a decent sized block deal. Now it's up around 5 rupees, but I think the closing price on Friday was around 195, so it's not changed much. Granules India is down about 7.5%. It's a name which got a regulator problem, and now it's down about 0.7%. All these oil marketing companies flat, really no change. So whether you talk about a BPCL, IOC, there's not much change that one can note into any of these names. Some of these sugar stocks have started to move up again. Mid cap index is now starting to open and look on the positive side. So broadly, you get a sense that markets have opened and the broader markets are doing well. JSW Energy is the stocks in news. They've signed a PPA, but the stock was already up around 6-7% on Friday, so maybe that's why it's not reacting much. BEML is also a name which is down about 0.8. There is some news flow expected regarding the sale of their business, sale of their government stake, part stake into the company. Keytex Garment, no volume, 415. Let's look at 8K miles as well. They declare numbers. And just a quick program reminder as well. We will be talking to the management at 11:45. It's 11,000 shares. That's pretty decent as far as as far as 8K miles are concerned. So 2.5% higher, 725. We'll wait and watch as to what comes in from results. Around 10:30, 11 a.m. India time is when you should get, and 11:45 is when the management will join us. Anisha, any names that you can pick up on the mid-cap side which are gaining a lot of traction because of volumes?
Well, there are some that are buzzing. Electrosteel Steels is up 5.5%. We've got the State Trading Corporation of India again up about 5%. Treehouse Education higher again, 4.5%. We've seen some of the sugar companies like Balrampur Chini, excuse me, Ugar Sugar, all of them seeing up moves. From the high beta space, Syntex is higher by 2.5%. Jayaprakash Associates higher by about 2.5%. Of course, you mentioned Fortis, that is moving on the back of news. Granules India is now down 8.5%. So Pankaj, that impact is coming through of the observations from Portugal.
Right, granules is something which is which is down around 10%. Now we'll just pull up the graphics again. That Portuguese authority has gone ahead and raised some concerns regarding their plan. So that's a name which is now in focus. I think it's about 101, 102, so it's down about 8% odd. Ruchit, any view on Granules India? Do you think Granules is a stock which can fall down further from 112? It's already gone down to 101.
Yes, Pankaj, if you observe the weekly charts, then definitely there is low top, low bottom formation on the weekly charts. And the set of moving averages, the short term as well as medium term moving averages is still on the negative side, where the short term moving averages are below the medium term. So I think the correction would still further continue. Won't like to do any kind of bottom fishing over here, but I think the major support which I can see on the longer term charts for the stock is coming around 80 levels, where there is 200 SMA on the weekly charts, as well as the previous lows of June 2015, from where the stock moved higher from 80 to 160. So I think one should definitely wait for some more correction into the stock. In case if we get the stock around levels of 80, maybe next 1.5 months or any time in the short term, then those would be the levels to enter into the stock again.
Right, Vishal, any view on Aurobindo Pharma or Granules? They are stocks which are making news right now.
Granules, I'll go with that. There's an important support around 98 and 97. So if today it manages to close below that, then we can look at levels what Ruchit mentioned around 80 levels. So I'll agree with that on him. And Auto Pharma, of course, Pharma is looking a bit better than in the last couple of weeks, and there's some kind of volume picking up in those stocks, and Auto Pharma being in the lead. I think that there is some more room where we can see at least levels of around 770 to 780 in the next few trading sessions on Auto Pharma.
Right, Just Dial, any view? It's very volatile in the last few days. Today is also coming in the top movers.
Just Dial, I think it's pretty much in a strong downtrend, but what we saw in last 2 days, Thursday and Friday, some good move with good volumes. So that indicates that the bottom is made, but that does not mean it will go up. It may consolidate in this range between 350 and 400 for a few days, and it would be good if it consolidates and then moves up. Then that would be a good sign for a major bottom formation.
Right, Ruchit, your view on Just Dial?
Yeah, probably if you observe, then although the stock in a downtrend formation of low bottom was there, but if we compare the price action along with the RSI, the recent fall from May 2016, from where the stock fell from 850 right up to 350 without any meaningful pullback. During this move, the RSI always has stayed below 50 on every pullback every pullback moves. The RSI has not crossed this 50 levels in the entire move from 850 to 350. Now in last 2-3 trading sessions, when the stock had moved higher, we had seen that for the first time in last few months, the RSI on the daily charts has crossed above 50. So that is a sign that the stock should head higher in the near term. Well, it would be very early to call it a resumption of the uptrend since we need some sort of high top high bottom formation to confirm the uptrend. But definitely the pullback rally should be there in the stock, and on the upside the stock could head higher towards 414 and probably for above 414 and also 450, 453. So as of now, from very short term perspective, the downside seems to be very limited, and this could be considered as a good pullback move.
Ruchit, Fortis is now up 4.5%. There was a big block deal on Friday. It was gainer at that time as well. Any view on Fortis Healthcare? And if I'm not wrong, it's just around its year high.
Yes, Pankaj, if you observe the a bit longer term charts, and since August 2015, there's almost 1.5 year the stock has consolidated in a broad range of 200, 250, 140 on the lower side. The good volumes in last few trading sessions are indicating that the price could give a breakout and move higher now in short term. So we are expecting a positive move in this stock. Also, if we compare this stock within the sector, this has been an outperformer where this stock has shown a time-wise correction now rather than price correction in last 1.5 years. So we are quite positive on the stock, and I think once the stock manages to give a closing above 196, 197, then probably we could see levels up to 220 coming in the stock in short term.
SV, when you spoke about the pharma pack, does something like a Fortis Healthcare, Dr. Lal Path Labs also fall in that category?
Not really. My focus is on more the mainstream companies, Sun Pharma or Dr. Reddy's and Aurobindo, Lupin. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm recommending all these stocks. I'm just giving the names. These Fortis and Path Labs they're more local stories. So one will have to view these stocks very differently. If I would at all venture to talk about Fortis, I think frankly also the fact that the management has been distracted a lot, and it looks like they want to be more passive investors and get out of the management. So maybe the street feels that if this company is run by people who are focused on the business, maybe this company will do well. And of course, a deal which you mentioned about also has helped, and the consolidation with Ruchit is mentioning about is because the street is obviously aware that some movement is happening on this counter. So the street obviously always is quite smart in that sense. Therefore, that could be the reason. But clearly, in the long run, some of these path lab companies, again, given all the emphasis on health and all the rest of the things that are happening in India, I think some of these stocks are something that one will need to study, and of course analyze in a very different way compared to some of the export oriented drug companies, which some of the names I mentioned earlier.
Right, but they are also on the positive side.
No, certainly. I mean, there's no question about it.
Right. In terms of some other names, which are doing well right now. So Syntex has gone up 3%. Kohinoor Foods is up around 4%. Sugar stocks like Uber Sugars have started to go again. SV, are you surprised by the move in sugar stocks, move in some of these fertilizer names? What's happening with rice stocks?
No, see, frankly, Pankaj, for at least talking about sugar first, I think there has been an uptick for quite some time now. So therefore, I'm not exactly surprised. And I think the general feeling that one is getting is that slowly but surely, this government wants to get out of some of the the micromanagement of industries, and I would put it as more of a macro policy thrust of the government, which is slowly sort of trickling down in terms of specific sectors, specific stocks. Therefore, both sugar and rice are I think people feel are beneficiaries. Rice is also an export story that keeps happening. So that to my mind is the feeling. Fertilizer, again, the reason is that slowly I expect the subsidy elements to slowly be reduced, and given the agriculture and the GDP numbers you just put out, which is expected, of course you put a caveat correctly that this is before the demonetization impact. I think that clearly shows that who benefits out of it. Fertilizer clearly is one sector that benefits. And to my mind, I would look at the economic survey numbers, Pankaj. You mentioned about the second revision that will happen sometime in mid-Feb. I think the economic survey this time, since it's going to come out on 31st Jan, or I think just one day before the budget, because the government seems to be clear on 1st February. So I would look at those numbers very carefully.
Right. Ruchit, some other names like Hindustan Zinc, so we discussed it earlier when it went from 250 to 280, then it again went back to 250, now it's at 268. Do you think the positive trajectory would continue?
Well, as of now, there is no signs that the uptrend has been reversed and the stock would probably head lower. So I think the high top high bottom formation still continues in the stock. Maybe the stock would now consolidate in this broad range of 250 to 290. If you observe on the daily charts, then 89 EMA has acted as a support in every correction since the stock started its uptrend in the first week of February 2016. So after this recent correction from 290, again the stock has taken support around 89 EMA, which is placed around 250. So probably the trend is still positive for the stock. One should definitely stay, one should definitely trade with positive bias. We can see some consolidation happening in this stock in the broad range of 250 to 290. So hold on to your longs, keeping a stop loss below the recent low.
All right. Mr. Prasad, do you have a view on the frontline IT stocks, Infosys, Wipro, TCS? We're going to get results this week from the heavyweights, Infosys and TCS. We had seen a reasonable up move over the last few sessions in IT, but that rally seems to be petering out. How critical will these earnings be? Or would you watch for other issues like visa issues? Will that perhaps provide more clarity on what's next for IT companies?
See, I mean, I've not been, a great votary for this sector for quite some time. Consistently, I've been maintaining that, unless they start changing their business model and show the street, because for the reasons I mentioned earlier, in terms of the Trump effect and the Brexit effect, I expect these companies are clearly in the crosshairs. H-1B visas and so many other issues are there. And apart from that, the fact of the matter is that you can play the arbitrage game up to a point. Now your base is very big. Therefore, I would definitely look at what the management guidance is when the announcements come, more than the results themselves. I think the management guidance is it muted? What are they saying? I think that's something as I've always maintained, Anisha, I would play the export game more through the pharma pack rather than playing the export thing through the IT stocks. That's been my consistent stance for quite some time.
All right, so prefer pharma to the IT names. Ruchit, today we're seeing some good moves in PSU banks like Indian Bank, Bank of Baroda, Bank of India. They're up 1% or thereabouts. Any view on some of these second rung PSU banks?
If you observe the Bank Nifty index first, what this index has done is last 2-3 weeks when the Nifty has shown a pullback move from lower levels. This index has relatively been an underperformer wherein a good sideways correction has been seen. Now on the weekly charts, the recent low around 17,600 seems to be a very strong support. So I think in the next few trading sessions, we might see some good outperformance coming in the Nifty Bank Nifty index right now. Now, if we also compare all the indices, the Nifty IT and Nifty Bank Index has somewhat shown a negative correlation. I don't know the reason why there is negative correlation, but definitely what seems to be happening is that there is a negative correlation in the index when the Bank Nifty index is moving down. IT has shown a pullback, and when IT is moving down, the Bank Nifty has shown a pullback. So now, given the recent correction in the Nifty IT index in last 2-3 trading sessions, definitely the banking sector now for this week should do well. The heavyweights are indicating a good positive momentum, specifically in Yes Bank, names such as Yes Bank and Kotak Bank. And even from the PSU banking fronts, I think one need to be very stock specific in PSU banks, because if even though Bank Nifty would would move higher, it would be because of the large cap private sector banks. So in PSU banks, one should be very stock specific while going long. Names that we like over here are Bank of Baroda and Bank of India, probably just because they are in trading around some medium to long term support zones. So we should see some good pullback move in the Bank Nifty in 1 week, but definitely it should be led by private sector heavyweights, and then it would be followed by a up move in PSU banks.
Right. SV, just a word on IndusInd Bank numbers tomorrow. You think more than numbers, when will the banking system be back? What is the sort of growth rate when they expect normal demand for loan and deposits to come in? That will be more in focus rather than just the Q3 numbers and the downgrades because of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think banks is another sector where one will have to see what the management is saying. Whether the actual on the ground impact of demonetization has settled now, and is it business as usual? I think that's what we'll see. And I think IndusInd and I think more the PSU pack will definitely benefit from the fact that interest rates are going down. I think that they will definitely benefit. I see them booking some treasury gains for the quarter ended December, and some of them will come with very positive surprises, especially the PSU pack, because they are typically they hold more of the government securities more than that they are required to hold as per SLR requirements. So definitely one will closely look at what the CEOs of these banks are saying about their perspective about what the business scenario is.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for speaking with us at NDTV Profit, giving us your views on all that we've discussed. As you go, Ruchit, please leave us with your disclosures.
I don't have a personal link in any of the stocks that we have discussed, but all three recommendations that we have given, GAIL, Britannia and Kotak Bank, have been recommended to our clients also.
Mr. Prasad, your disclosures?
I continue to hold a small holding in SBI, in HPCL and in Sun Pharma.
All right, thank you so much for being with us on NDTV Profit. We'll slip into a break at this point in time. When we come back, we have a chat lined up with Mr. T.S. Harihar. Stay with us.